Hi y'all! Today I'm going to show you how to root elderberry cuttings in water. So this is a pretty good example of a cutting that I take right off the tree. Pencil width is pretty good. This is a good length, what I usually use. And then I cut it so that there's only a few leaves that it has to, keep alive while it doesn't have a root system. And then these bumps will start roots when we put it in water. So I'm going to just really simple, put it in a glass of water and wait for it to root. Because I have grow lights for other plants I'm growing for Southside Community Farm, I keep my rooting elderberries, these are all different rooting elderberries, under grow lights, but you can keep them by a window, you can keep them outside and just bring them in if it frosts. Now here are two examples that I started in water a few weeks ago. Here's kind of an intermediate one. You can see that it's starting to grow roots, just starting to, and that's great, that's a great sign. And then this one is a little bit further along, and that one has a lot of great healthy roots. And what you can do is, just keep them in the water. There's not a certain length of time. These have been in here the same amount of time. So we can see that one of them has rooted faster than the other, but they're both doing great. Don't rush them, they're gonna be okay. But once they have roots, I would say this or a little bit longer, you can go ahead and plant that. And there are really two ways to do that. Here you can also take off, you can see here that there's a little bit of green right here. I would take this off just because we're trying to focus on roots down here. And you can check them. Another great thing to do is sometimes as they're growing, some of their other leaves will die back a little bit like this, and you can just pull that off gently. That's great. And then when they have, maybe a little bit more root than this, there's two options. What you can do is either plant this in a pot, right up to about there, and continue to take care of it and keep it well watered. If you choose to pot these up, you will use, some kind of standard potting soil, make sure it drains well, plant them up to here, and then you can keep them until they're a bit more mature, maybe till the fall, and then plant them outside. These do get really large. You don't want to keep one as a house plant. So that's what you would do just if you wanted to wait until it was a bit more mature. Or what I usually do is when they just have a little bit more root than this is when I plant them in the ground. So I will just dig a hole, kind of loosen the soil, plant them right up to where they start rooting. And I often put, like a small cage around them at Southside Community Farm, but that's only because other people mow and I don't want them to get mowed. But really something, even though it's really small, like you can plant this in the ground and it will grow a whole tree from that. And they like well-drained soil. They don't mind it to be near water. They often grow near water, near creeks and such, but they don't want to be in a place that's going to have standing water. Apparently they like slightly acidic soil, but I have had good luck. They're very versatile. They're native to this region, so they're really good at growing. Pretty much, wherever you put them. And they are tolerant of full sun all the way to partial shade. And then it'll take only a few years to get elderberries. They're pretty fast growing. And then you can make things like, this is one of the things that we've made at a workshop at Southside Community Farm, an elderberry cordial. But you can do lots of things with elderberries. You do want to cook them before you use them. And you can make jams, syrups, cordials, lots of different things. So I hope you enjoy.